Hey guys, Duke here with some questions and answers from the guild Veteran Corps. So before we begin, there's a little introduction by my friend Wolverhulk that he asked me to read. So I met DukeBLT a long time ago when the game first began. At that time, I was under the in-game name of either Kelvador or Telemanthon. It's such a long time ago for me that I forgot which one. At any rate, I would typically be hanging out in public chat room, channel 109, shout out 109, what's up, back then, and was impressed with DukeBLT. He would talk to anyone despite their level of progression in the game. Duke never presented with disrespect or an elitist attitude towards others in the game. He was always friendly, approachable, and courteous. In my opinion, these are some of the characteristics that I feel draw people towards DukeBLT, and this is why he's one of my favorite Summoners War players. That's not in my guild. Sorry dude, I'm biased. I love my guild members, but I know you understand. Now, let's get on to the questions. Alright, question number 1 from the guild, Veteran Corps. Can you please tell us a little bit about your gaming experience previous to Summoners War? Sure, actually through college I was actually really good. I didn't play any video games in college, or I should say no MMOs in college. I did play some like Super Smash Brothers and Trance and stuff. After college I got into a little bit of MapleStory, met some cool people there. You know, it's just sort of a free game, my intro to MMOs. Once World of Warcraft came out, I started playing that. My brothers got me into that one actually. During vanilla, we played, you know, Molten Core, Blackrock, etc. And all the way up till Pandaria, actually, I played World of Warcraft. It was a fun way for my brothers and I to connect and hang out because we were kind of geographically dispersed at the time. So from there, I tried some other World of Warcraft clones like Guild Wars 2. I tried out Rift, which is a pretty cool game most recently. Did a couple of the card games, Assassin's Creed Recollection, I think was the name of it. I also did a little bit of Hearthstone. But I've actually deleted all those at this point, just focused on Summoners War recently. Now what drew me to playing this game is a number of factors. It's a well put together game. The graphics are nice, the interface is smooth, the customer service is actually pretty good. They actually respond to requests. I know, for example, the community manager has actually implemented some of the suggestions that I personally gave into the game, and that was really cool. I mean, I'm sure other people also recommended them, but it was nice to know that, you know, they're actually listening. Things such as raids, for example, world boss. You know, these are things that I directly had specific conversations with them about, and you know, a few months later, boom, there it was. So very exciting to have that kind of, you know, feedback loop with the community manager. But what else drew me to it is the fact that I could auto. I could auto this game while doing other things. That's what really drew me to it and kept me playing. The fact that I could just auto farm while working, auto farm while traveling, you know, from meeting to meeting. And also the online community is really cool. That the chat function is there, that you can chat while you're autoing things. That really kept me going as well. I discovered Summoners War from a friend, yes. Actually, it was through Cus Fordingham, who was the guild leader of the previous game I played, which was called Demon Tribe by Sega. Very cool game, although apparently wasn't popular enough because it actually got discontinued. But we had a lot of fun in that guild, and some of the guild members there had recommended this game. I checked it out. Some of the other games that they'd recommended, I didn't fall in love with, but Summoners War, just something about it really stuck. I got hooked probably the first day playing. You know, I like the depth of it. I like the way it worked. I like the auto function. I like the chat, you know, and the community there. And so yeah, probably the first day I actually ended up getting hooked on the game. And what kept me around also was the cool online community, because in the very, very early days when the game was first released, no one had any idea what we were doing. We didn't know what rune sets were best. We didn't know what monsters were good. We didn't know what you needed to prioritize. So it was really, we had to talk to one another, and it was cool to get that kind of feedback. It was cool to, you know, we didn't have that huge Reddit community there is now. We didn't have Summoners War wikis or anything like that. We were the ones who had to really communicate with one another, and that was kind of a fun, you know, time created for the camaraderie. There were no guilds back then too, so it was really by channel, and 109 was my original channel. What made me decide to make videos for the public on my YouTube channel was really that, I think as Wolverholt alluded to, we had that online community, and a lot of people asked questions. And I ended up answering a lot of questions. I kind of became known, I suppose, as someone who would answer questions. People would joke around, call me DukeBLT, things like that. And I don't think I know everything in the game, and I'm certainly not the most knowledgeable person in the game, but I knew enough to help out, especially the early players and in-game players, towards the higher levels. So I found myself answering the same questions over and over again, and I realized a much more efficient way to do that would be actually to make a video about it, post it online, and then direct people there. So if they had a question, I could just make a video and post it there. Everyone could benefit from that information. So really, to me, it's just the most efficient solution. And I really appreciate all the support, by the way, from all my subscribers, all my friends that I've made along the way. Thanks for watching these videos, and it's been really a cool experience. So thanks, everyone. Rune farming, how much I do weekly? Basically, anytime I'm online and I'm not doing like dailies or raids or PvP, I'm rune farming. Just autoing giants or dragons or necro V10, depending on whatever I need or whatever I'm not terribly bored of at the moment. So yeah, it's just sort of the default for me. My work means that I travel between meetings oftentimes throughout the day. Traffic in Manila is so bad that I often end up with like a 1 or 2 hour commute, and so this is just a good way to kill time for an hour or two between meetings. Now specifically, how many farming runs would I do weekly? So let's take an average day. Let's say I have 2 hours of gameplay, farming runs, and I farm giants in around maybe 45 seconds, dragons, necro maybe about a minute and a half. Let's say we average it out to about a minute-ish per farming run. That means I can blow through all 80 of my energy in, like, let's say 15 minutes. Give a little bit of time for selling runes and hitting replay and all that. So 15 minutes, I'm going to blow through my full energy bar. And that means I can refill 4 times in an hour or 8 times in 2 hours. So in 2 hours of gameplay, that's going to be 10 runs times 8, which is 80 runs, maybe 100 runs per day, times 7 would be 700 runs per week. So that might be an average. Some weeks I'm out of town, I won't get nearly that number. Other times I'm just bored and autoing for hours, and so I might end up with 1,000 farming runs per week. And of those, sadly, I keep like 1 rune. But at this point, my standards for keeping runes has gotten high because I'm constantly out of rune space. So in order to boost my runes at this point, I'm keeping mostly, just whenever possible, 6-star purple or orange runes, but I do end up keeping some 5 stars, purple and orange. Once in a while, 6-star blue if the stats are really something I absolutely need. When I'm matching up monsters in a guild battle or arena, to be honest, as of about a year ago, I got a bit lazy in the game because I had sort of hit my personal goals. And so I don't really try as hard in arena anymore, especially because my glory buildings are all max, so I don't really care about using my wings. I don't refill wings either, because I can buy all of the scrolls and the Devilmon, and I still have excess every week anyway. So because of that, I just look for easy opportunities to speed clear. In my case, it's Devolution. So whoever I can quickly Devolution in arena, that's who I'm fighting. It actually works up until G3, even on Sundays right before reset. But you have to be selective about who you choose. If I wanted to beat every single person on my list, that's the most efficient way to go about it because you get 2 extra wins. But and I used to do that, but I would have to switch over to a bruiser comp. So, in some cases, and that takes longer than like 15 seconds, and that's too long for me. So when I talk about guild battle matchup, it really depends on the defense. A lot of guild battle defenses are somewhat threatening. They're just kind of YOLO. Because if they can kill one of your monsters on offense, even if they lose that round, they've crippled you. You can't use that monster anymore in future fights. So it's beneficial in a lot of cases for people to use, high threat guild war defenses. In that case, high threat defenses oftentimes can also be met with a faster high threat team or with a bruiser team that can outlive the damage and heal through it and take them out. So it really depends on the defense I'm going up against. Now, if we're dealing with like a really tanky guild war defense, then obviously I'm not going to try to bring really squishy monsters, because if I can't kill them right away, then I lose the round. So I would much rather bring a bruiser comp in order to take out another tanky type comp. Attributed advantages in PvP. Speed over nuke, not necessarily. I mean, speed is king, yes, in PvP, as is tankiness, in particular HP and resistance. But speed over nuke, if you're going to nuke, you need speed, but you really need both, unless you're going to use a specialized combo of, let's say, shield and will runes to take the initial hits and still be able to nuke. But speed is also advantageous for bruiser teams, so we're talking about tanky damage dealers. And those need to be fast as well in order to do enough damage to take out the other team. Defense over HP. Defense is really only beneficial with mobs that scale with defense. So we're talking about, for example, copper. Because in PvP there are a lot of mobs that are used in offense that ignore defense. So again, copper is a great example. Lucian, Kali. They all ignore defense, and so you could have a 3,000 defense aerial who still gets one shot by a copper or Lucian easily. But if your aerial has whatever 40,000 HP, he's not going to be one shot by a single Lucian, right? So it really depends on the monster for defense versus HP, but in general, on defense, HP is valued more. A strong arena defense is really half the battle to achieving Guardian rank. Of course, the other half is offense, and you need to win more often than you lose in order to advance rank. So what that means is your defense needs to hold people off long enough for you to win before you lose. Or your defense needs to be threatening enough to prevent people from attacking you. So that's the key to a good arena defense, is you want to have either high threat or high stall. Those are basically the two big options. And threat comes in a couple different flavors. There's the speed nuke teams, there's also the bruiser teams, but typically threat is going to be important to a good defense, except on Sunday, an hour before reset, in which case a lot of people go to more of a tanky stall defense, because again, all you need to do is win faster than you lose, and you can maintain or even increase your ranking during rush hour. Fastest way to progress the Guardian, focusing on current meta, raids, monsters. Really the fastest way is farm runes. I'm going to say this a lot throughout the Q&A here, but it's important to farm runes. I can't emphasize enough. That's the only way I was able to hit Guardian ranks, is when everybody else was focusing on summoning monsters, I was farming runes. And when you're talking about the current meta has really just gone back and forth between speed and tank since really the beginning of the game. So that's why I call it the spank meta, speed plus tank. Made another video about that. So when I say farm runes, early game players are going to focus on giant speed 10. Farm runes and giant speed 10 to enable you to do dragon speed 10. Farm runes and dragon speed 10 to enable you to do necro speed 10. Farm runes and necro that enable you to do raids. Now you can probably do raids if you're only doing dragons. A lot of people are at this mid-game level where they can't do necro, but they can do some raids. But to be honest, if you can raid and you can't do necro yet, you're missing out on 1/3 of the drops from raids. Like 1/3 of those drops are useless to you. So it really makes more sense to farm necro first. So you're not going to be able to compete at the Guardian level if you aren't able to do R4 or R5, basically, because all the Guardian level players are going to have grindstone and enchanted runes. So it's important that you be able to keep up with them. The only way to do that is to be able to farm all of the different dungeons as well as R4 to R5. Now, when you talk about building specific monsters, sure, there are some monsters that are just great for PvP. Molly, Praha, Zyros, Tiana, you name it, right? But those monsters won't do anything without the right runes. So I would say that really focusing on rune farming is the way to go. And in fact, a lot of the same monsters you use to farm runes and do raids with are going to be the same ones that are very helpful to you in PvP. Veramos, Ciara, right? Even Bella can be very useful in PvP. Verdahile, the fire vampire, can be very useful in PvP. Theo, right? These are all monsters that you can use for rune farming, you can also use for PvP. Current ranking, so I think that this is referring to Guardian ranks. My strategy to progress while remaining competitive, to be honest, I haven't tried to progress for like a year now. I've mostly been sticking around to hang out with friends and just kind of, I hit a bit of a plateau, you know. Whenever I'd like to increase rank, I can do so, but most of the time I don't really have the drive to do so. And I'm not trying to brag or anything, I just mean that, like, you know, I cleared TOA Hard 100 every month, same thing with TOA, raid R5, all the different dungeons, got speed teams for them. In Arena, you know, I can attack up to G3, or I hit Legend before. Guild Wars, you know, done the top rank guild thing before. So in all the aspects of the game, I've kind of hit my goals. So as far as progression goes, there's not too much to do. I'm just sort of staying relevant as much as I can, I guess. And to do that, I really have to farm runes. I have to raid Devilmons for skill ups. You know, those are really the keys to maintaining the level where I am. Minimum stats for front and backline for R4 and I5. To be honest, I don't know R4 stats. R5 stats, though, frontline, you want to have, if possible, 1,500 defense and 25,000 HP. If you can have 1,800 defense and 30,000 HP, all the better. It really depends on your team a lot, though. If you have a lot of fast healers, fast cleansers, that number gets lower. If your monsters are on Vampire, for example, then again, that number goes lower because they're able to heal back some of the damage that they take. So it depends a little bit, but those are the numbers for frontline. For backline, if you want to be really safe, you could have like 20,000 HP, but I've seen some monsters get by with like 15,000. Keep in mind, though, that most of the people doing R5 have maxed HP buildings. Defense, you know, there's no real specific defense requirement for backline. It's only the front line. But, you know, whatever you can have helps in the backline again. Successful arena defense. There's two different types of successful arena defenses. A successful arena defense on Monday through Saturday is one that's going to dissuade people from attacking you. In particular, you don't want to be easy to speed clear. If people can speed clear you, you're going to drop rank fast. So how do you avoid being speed cleared? You do that by being faster. You could use a speed lead with an attack bar initiator, such as Bernard or Orion. Light Harpy is another one, etc. Tiana is even one. Some people use Chloe as well. That's kind of a different conversation, though. That's not an attack bar booster, but she's still a bit of an initiator to protect her team. Sunday, an hour before reset, what's successful is to win faster than you lose. So, Arena is oftentimes used in Guardian 3 Arena just to prevent those speed clears. It's really hard to Devolution or to Tian Zararos Galleon Arena team. Forces people to use bruisers. It'll take them, you know, maybe 30 seconds to clear you rather than 10 seconds, maybe a minute to clear you. But still, taking that long, you should be able to clear others in less than a minute. And if you win more quickly than you lose, you're going to maintain rank. This is only relevant, of course, if you refill wings. I don't refill wings anymore because all my glory buildings are maxed. So to me, there's really no point in doing so. But an example is my most successful defense. I had one that was close to 50%. I mean, it was like 45% defense successful, 49% defense successful. It actually lost me rank because it looked weak, and so I got attacked so often that despite the fact that I was winning so much, it wasn't over 50%. If you can have a defense that's over 50% successful, you're going to gain rank while you're sleeping, which is awesome. That doesn't happen a whole lot except like right after Arena reset when everybody's the same level and newer players are attacking you. But that's not necessarily the best route. A great route to arena defense is to have something that is so threatening that it dissuades people from attacking you in some way. Whether that threat is a speed nuke defense, or whether that threat is Nemesis Praha that can out-heal a double Lucian team, or Molly that can dissuade a Tiana Zyrus team, things like that. You need to figure out ways to counter the most common offenses that you think you're going to counter at your fight. So again, Praha, accuracy, crit rate versus speed and HP. For me, speed and HP are fairly essential, as well as the right runes for Praha are essential, because she can change entirely depending on which sets you use. So double Nemesis Will, for example, is one defense option. Another one would be Despair Nemesis. And that Nemesis is pretty key, because once the first AoE nuker goes, then she can almost basically full heal your entire team before the second AoE nuker can go, unless you have they have some sort of attack bar manipulation in play, or if the speeds don't match up correctly. So that's why speed's really important with Praha. Accuracy and critical rate is more important if you're going to use Praha on offense, right? Because accuracy is really all about her removing those buffs. But Praha doesn't have a 100% skill activation rate to remove buffs anyway, so she's not the most reliable buff remover, but when she does, it's really great. She can really punish Chloe, for example. That's when accuracy becomes more important. And crit rate is something that's great to have, right? Get as much as you can, but it's not your primary focus with Praha. That will help in more of a sustained type team. You're not banking on winning in the first round. You're going to want to be around for a while. So that critical just helps her boost her attack bar more in order to heal and purge those buffs more often. If you don't have Galleon, is Mantura or Lure a better choice for an arena offense team focused on area effect damage? It really depends on who you use. If you're using Akamamir, or Amir as he's called, Mantura is a better choice, because Mantura provides not only defense break, but also dots. Those double debuffs help to boost Amir's third skill damage even more. If you're using somebody else who isn't as reliant on having those multiple debuffs, then Lure can be a great option, because Lure can counter what I just mentioned with Praha. A Nemesis Praha, for example, is going to have her attack bar increase, but Lure is going to decrease her attack bar, therefore enabling your second nuker to go even after your first nuker goes. So it really depends on your team. I know a lot of these answers are qualified, but that's how it is in Summer's War. My personal favorite monster combinations for PvP, PvE, why? Double Lucian, I think that's pretty apparent if you see my videos, because I can use it in Giants, I can use it in Necro, and I can use it in Arena Offense. So, and plus I use it on every Hall of Heroes, I can use it to clear most of the B10 element dungeons. It's just a nice combo overall. Now we're talking combos for PvP. A combo you'll see a lot for sort of mid-range Guild Wars would be Veramos, Bella, and Bird. And that has a good combination of AoE stuns and heals and cleanses with defense break and some damage thrown in there. So that can be hard for some people to handle. That's sort of an easily attainable bruiser type team. There are, of course, going to be favorite mobs for other aspects of the game. Beretta, for example, is just awesome for TOA hard, so you're going to see him there quite often. As for raids and Necro, Colleen is almost irreplaceable. She's just such a great farmable mob. Diaz is really useful, although at the very highest levels of R5, you don't even necessarily need him, but he's just great for most people. Again, current personal goals in the game. I kind of alluded to this. To be honest, I'm sticking around playing for a lot of reasons to make videos. I have a lot of videos I wanted to make. I have a lot of, opinions and knowledge I wanted to get out there before I quit, because at this point, I basically hit a plateau, and so I don't play as often, but I'm just sort of maintaining where I'm at right now. We'll see once new content's released. Could be fun. Some new goals. But ever since I maxed all of my glory buildings, that was kind of my last personal goal. How do you neutralize a Speedy Chasen? The easiest way is to nuke her to death, but of course that's not always easy. Speedy Chasens usually have very high HP as well as high resistance. Another way is to skill reset her, let's say with Zyros. Another way would be to stun her, Veramos. But again, it's a little hard to skill reset her or to stun a Chasen. Really, one of the best ways is to have a faster and higher damage team, and you can just kill all of Chasen's teammates and leave her for last, and she's completely useless on her own. So that's one way to neutralize a Speedy Chasen. How do you counter speed? More speed. I know it's an easy answer, but there are other ways to do it as well. Leo pretty directly counters speed teams just because it's passive. You can also counter it by out-tanking it with a bruiser team. Just accept that you're going to eat the initial burst, but know that you have to be able to come back and heal and resurrect and cleanse enough to be able to take out what's oftentimes going to be a squishy team. Another way to go about it is to use all double shield with a single will rune on your offense. If you do that, you're going to have a very heavy shield, plus you're going to have immunity. That's going to let you live through most things, though of course if they have on their defense a cleanser, like a stripper, such as Tiana or Praha or Juno, Chiwu, etc., Triton, then that comp becomes no longer viable because they can just remove your buffs and you're dead. Will we see a new meta emerge that will replace speed? Yeah, it's really cyclical, but it's mostly between speed and tank, and that's again why I call it the spank meta. So speed plus tank is spank. If I had a magic wand, what runes would I like to see in the game? I would like to see violent runes that have a 25% proc rate, but can only proc one time. That's it, no more than one. Because I can't tell you how many friends I've heard who just get so upset when, a monster is attacking 6 times or 8 times. I had a violent Zyros AoE me 4 times in a row. That shows you how many, so many turns that the skill cooldowns were up again, it could AoE me twice more. That's just kind of ridiculous for something like that to happen. I think that a higher chance of a single proc would be a little bit more balanced. C1 players to develop and deploy a strong, effective AD. I think I've alluded to that throughout this, but honestly, it's about farming runes. You're not going to, with arena defense, you're not going to win in most cases unless your runes are better than whoever's attacking you. And the reason for that is that it's the AI. You're depending on the AI versus a line player, except for, of course, real-time battles, which are just introduced to the game, but they don't really count yet. Now, what's an effective AD? Monday through Saturday, it needs to dissuade people from attacking you. Think of that as your goal. On Sunday, an hour before reset, it needs to stall them long enough for you to win before you lose, just to maintain whatever rank you are an hour before reset. That's the key to a strong effective AD. There are no specific mandatory monsters to be a Guardian. Absolutely not. There are a lot of great farmable options. I mentioned Veramos, Bella, Thea. These are good farmable options. Amir can be really great on offense. Right? Desire can be good versus anyone with passives. I managed to hit Legend rank without a single natural born 5-star. And I used all farmed mobs as well. My primary offense at the time, I think, was Vero, Bella, Bernard, and Sigmaris, of all things. And it worked because there was a very fire-heavy meta back then. A lot of double, triple armors, etc. Most common defense I encounter at my level, how they ruined. So the most common defenses, they have a lot of beast monks. So you're gonna see a lot of Kumar, a lot of Vitesh, a lot of Praha, Molly. You're gonna see a lot of Camila, of course Zyros. Zyros and Tiana oftentimes kind of go together in a speed type combo with Galleon. Vanessa for speed lead, Juno as well is a common one you're going to see a lot. And they're ruined oftentimes tanky and fast. So that's the way it goes. With a lot of violent procs, despair procs, etc. Chiwu is really common up there as well. So those are just some examples. You're going to see quite a few more, of course, but notice that all of those examples are great ways to counter being speed cleared. If you can be speed cleared, you're not going to last very long in Guardian ranks. So it's important that you figure out some way to avoid being speed cleared, whatever strategy that might be. How did I make it to Guardian? I think I mentioned that a little bit. Rune farming. I was farming runes and working on glory buildings while everybody else was buying scrolls with glory and summoning as much as possible. I was just using the mobs I had, max skilling them, and farming runes like crazy. I was one of the first people on the server, farming giants or farming dragons, farming necro, and that's what I really focused on. That's what helped put me above the rest. Now at this point, I know my runes aren't amazing. There are other people who rune farm a whole lot more than I do, but they're certainly enough to keep me in the Guardian ranks, and that's the key to success. Plus, of course, good team synergy and glory points. When does a player make the transition from swift runes to violent, and is it worth the speed loss? It can be. It really depends. So when you are an early game player, you're going to start farming giant speed 10. Stick with swift runes until you can auto farm dragon speed 10. That's when you start switching to violence, once you get a full set of violence, which is probably going to be like a month or a few months after you can auto giant dragon speed 10 really successfully, hopefully 100%. So don't be afraid to have a swift Viramos, a swift Bella. Of course, swift Bernard, you should be swift anyway. There's some mobs that you really don't ever want to make violent. Bernard, for example, is swift. Like, that's what he uses. It doesn't really make much sense to put violent on Bernard. So, because that's really his main purpose, is that first round initiator, so you want to be fast. Same thing with like Lightheart, for example. So that's a good time when you want to switch from swift to violent. Don't rush it. Do that when you really have. You can replace all of the stats that you would lose by switching out the swift runes with an equally good set of violent runes. That's when you should switch. All right, a lot of great questions. Just want to read out the closing again. In closing, we want to personally thank you, DukeBLT, for being so gracious and magnanimous and taking the time from his very busy schedule to answer questions from the members of the entire Guild Veteran Corps. We're all extremely thankful for your kindness and sharing some of your knowledge and experience with us. We really appreciate your assistance and hard work. Thank you, BLT, and best of luck as you continue to succeed in Summer's War. P.S. Stay in touch. Same goes for all of you guys. Please stay in touch. If you have any questions you'd like answered, feel free to leave them on my channel as well, DukeBLT, and I'd be happy to put together another Q&A with any good questions there. So thanks everyone for watching. Hopefully you found this useful. Like if you liked it, subscribe to keep them coming. Thanks everyone.